Today's sermon is entitled Money. We are going to talk about what does the Bible say about money, what does God say about money, and if we finish a little early, my last slide is how to make a lot of money. Who wants to make a lot of money? Yeah? You guys do? So last slide, if you pay attention, if you guys pay attention, I will show you last slide how to make a lot of money, all right? So let's approach this reading here. 1 Timothy chapter 6. We're going to start in verse 6. I'm going to go to 10, and then I'll skip to 17 and 19. Paul is writing Timothy, and he's talking in particular in the beginning of the chapter about how some people are using Christianity to basically enrich themselves. They are using their position as teachers just to make money. And that is obviously wrong. And a false gospel has been preached to them about the fact that, hey, like if you follow God, you'll make a lot of money and you'll be very successful and healthy and wealthy and prosperous. And that is not always the case. But we're going to jump in here at verse 6, where Paul says the following. Paul writes and says, "Yet true godliness with contentment is itself great wealth. After all, we brought nothing with us when we came into the world, and we can't take anything with us when we leave it. So if we have enough food and clothing, let us be content. But people who long to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by their foolishness or harmful desires that plunge them into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And some people, craving money, have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows." Now jump to verse 17. "Teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud and not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. Tell them to use their money to do good, and they should be rich in good works and generosity to those in need, always being ready to share with others. By doing this, they will be storing up treasures as a good foundation in the future, for they may experience true life." Christian and I had a cool experience where we were both talking about a seminal moment in our own lives revolving around money. I remember I was in middle school, and I went with my brothers and my sister to the U.S. Mint. And we both had this very similar experience where we went on a tour where they actually make money. And going on this tour, I made memories that I will still remember to this day. I remember going on the tour. They had a plexiglass box of $1 bills stacked up in a block. Or actually, I think it was $1 bills, but it was 1,000,000 of them. And they're like, "Here you go, everyone. This is what $1 million looks like." My brother Cabot licked the glass. He was like, I want this. I'm like, why are you want to eat them? I'm so confused by that response, but he loved money so much. He was so excited about the idea of I am so close to being a millionaire. And then we're on the tour, we're thinking to ourselves, you think we could go back there and break into the plexiglass? And do you think my pocket knife can break through it? And then maybe we can just run out of here and suitcases full of money? How can we win that money? Then we get to these conveyor belts. And the tour guide goes, "Yeah, these conveyor belts are printing money right now. These are actually today $50 bills. Just think about this. In 2.8 seconds, I don't remember the exact number. I'm coming up with a number. Let's say 20 seconds, these conveyor belts will print more money than you will earn in your entire life." And my brother goes, "Challenge accepted." He's like, "I'm going to make more money than these conveyor belts will print." But that's such a crazy thing that these, bits of paper are being turned into something of value. Then we got to the gift shop, and this place blew us away. In the gift shop of the U.S. Mint, they sell, for money, shredded $100 bills. They literally sell you shredded up money. And I'm like, how is this profitable? They're selling shredded up $100 bills. And they go, well, what they do is every time they make a mistake in printing the money, it's useless and worthless, so they just shred the dollar bills and give them to us in the dollar store or in the gift shop, and then we resell it, which was crazy to me that there's a bag of shredded $100 bills. And all throughout high school, at that museum, I actually purchased a frame with $1 bills that were uncut. And it was a block of 20 of them, And I literally hung it in my bedroom after that event because I was so amazed at the process of making money, and I just thought it was cool. And I think that so many of us look at money, and we can go online and we can look at people in amazing cars or flying to amazing places on their private jet. And you can see this lifestyle that we project that money can provide, and so many people long for that, desire that. Other people villainize that. Man, the fact that you have so much money, no one should be that rich. Anyone being rich is an evil, wicked person. And even desiring to have money is wrong. Other people are like, money is like the greatest way to be happy in your life. Money leads to happiness. This is awesome. Well, I want us to break down what the verses here say about, is money really wicked? Should Christians seek to make money? Is it wrong for us to desire to make money? Is it wrong for a Christian to be rich? I want us to look through as Christians how we should view this. And before you say to me, Barrett, I'm in middle school, I don't even care about money, I don't have that much money, that's why we're talking about it. Because I want to start preparing you now to have a solid foundation on what you believe about something that is so important, at least by our culture, and by the emphasis we put on it, and the amount of time we spend talking about it, that we have a proper view biblically of it. So let's come back to the text here, starting again in verse 6. Yet true godliness with contentment is great wealth. After all, we brought nothing with us into this world when we came into the world, and we can take nothing with us when we leave. So if we have enough food and clothing, we should be content. First thing we're going to talk today about with money is this. We need to talk about contentment. Being satisfied with what you have rather than longing for more. Lacking contentment, being discontent, is when you're like, man, whatever I got isn't enough. I need more. I need more. And Paul is basically highlighting this is what contentment should look like. Contentment is this, to recognize that if you have enough food and you have clothes to wear, you are blessed. Let me raise the ante. Now, I'm going to list some statistics here. And before I list these statistics, I do not want anyone in this room to feel shame based on what I say. My goal is not to guilt you. My goal is rather to bring gratitude into your heart, not guilt. We live, if you live in Loudoun County, in the richest county in America. This is average, medium cost. The average person that lives in Loudoun County makes more money than the average person that lives in any other county in America. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Not me. Like some of you are like, all right, that's all those other people, those rich people. That's not me. Like, I am not one of those families. I don't have a cell phone, and my parents are like, we don't got money for that. I don't have this. I don't have that. All my friends have this, that, or this, but I don't. And Paul is drawing us back to look at some contentment. Hey, what do you have, though? Rather than wasting your thoughts on what you don't have, what if you were thankful for what you did? Let me give you these statistics. If you have your own bed, meaning you're not sharing a bed with a sibling. I'm not talking about sharing a room. I'm not talking about, I don't have my own bathroom. I'm talking about like you share a bed. If you have your own bed that you don't have to share with a sibling, if you are able to eat 3 meals a day, meaning you have the financial means to eat 3 meals a day. I'm not talking about door dashing 3 times a day. I'm not talking about getting Chick-fil-A. I'm talking about you can go into your pantry or your fridge and there is food for you to eat. If you have running water in your house, if you have clean drinking water, and the definition of clean is simply it's clear, like you don't have murky drinking water. You have heat or air conditioning, or that's not both, heat or air conditioning in your house, and you have access to school and a doctor. And you might be like, well, we have horrible health care. No, I'm talking like you were able to go to a doctor in a life-threatening situation. If you have those things, statistically speaking, you are in the top 20% of wealth in the world. Top 20% of wealth. There are 80% of people in the world that would look at you having those things and say, you are rich. And you might be like, that's not rich. Rich is what I see on Instagram. Rich is what I see on YouTube. No. Rich is a relative term. Having money and wealth is all comparable. I was watching a YouTube video of a guy talking about investing in real estate. And he said, I really felt like I was a big shot when I had reached being a millionaire. And then I went to a conference with just millionaires at it, and I felt like I had nothing. Then I was on the stage speaking a couple years later to the same conference, to these millionaires. And I was backstage at the conference talking with the other speakers. And they were all worth far more than me, and I felt like I had nothing. Here's a man now who's worth multi-million dollars, and he's backstage with people that have more money than him, and he feels like he doesn't have enough. Who are you comparing yourself to? Because if you live in Loudoun County and you feel poor, you are comparing yourself to a very different demographic. The average family, I'm sorry, that's a wrong statistic. 700 million people live as a family on $2.15 per day. Someone goes out, works all day, and 700 million families live on $2.15 a day. You can spend that in our cafe on a coffee and a donut. And I want us again to realize, what if we found this contentment and rest, and God has given me food to eat today? And I'm going to thank him for it. What if you're like, man, I had options when I went into my closet on what to wear today. Rather, oh man, my friends have all these nice Nikes. They have clothes that are so nice. I got hand-me-downs from my older siblings that don't fit me that good. What if you were just like, no, I've got options? What if you were like, oh, I don't like sharing a room with my brother or sister. This is ridiculous. And you're like, what? No, hold on. I got my own bed. I want us to rather be content and joyful in these things. You see, people think that money will lead them to happiness. And here's the truth, okay? You know, people be like, money doesn't make you happy. I'm over here like, are you crazy? Money can make you happy. Have you ever seen a person on a jet ski frowning? Like, oh man, I'm not having fun on my... No, they're happy on their jet ski. They're having a great time. All right, you ever seen like somebody like, you know, like sit there with a massive steak at a restaurant and be like, oh man, I got to eat this entire $1,000 steak. I'm miserable. You know, or they buy a Rolex and their face is like this when they're walking out of the store, right? Money can make you happy, but for how long? That's a better question. Happiness is a temporary emotion. And what's ironic is some of the most depressed people in the world, by the world standards, are some of the more successful people. Some of the most successful people in the world are miserable. Or maybe they reach a milestone like, oh, cool, I'm a millionaire. And then they're like, is this it? I need more to really keep being happy. I need more to keep being happy. Then they get to their deathbed, and no one gets to their deathbed and says, hey, show me my bank statement. I really want to see how much money I have in the bank. Who cares? You're about to die. What do they think about when they're on their deathbed? Who will remember me? How could I have lived differently? Who loved me? What was the purpose of my life, the meaning of my life? Because your money is not your value or your meaning or your happiness. It is temporary. It is not a lasting contentment. See, happiness is temporary and can be rocked. The economy can crash and your happiness fades. But contentment is in all seasons to find rest in what you do have. If you can hack this with money and find what Paul is talking about here, rest in whatever you have, joy in whatever you have, you can have peace. Talk to the people who've been on mission trips to Uganda, and they're hanging out with kids that have 2 sets of clothing, that sleep in the fields around the church or around the school so they don't have to walk too far to school each day. And they come each day to school with these smiles on their faces because they get to learn. They get to have a future, perhaps. And they're content with whatever they have. I was in Haiti, and I remember the students were having lunch at a vacation Bible school that we had. And while they were having lunch, these students were like freaking out, really excited. And I'm like, what's going on over there? I said to the missionary, why are they all excited? They go, oh, they get hot sauce today with their rice. Their school lunch was rice, but this day they got to put a little hot sauce on it. And yet, you're maybe complaining about your school lunch because it's not pizza day? Like, think about that. They can just find excitement and joy in what they do have rather than just being so bothered by what they don't. Let's keep going here. Next, verses 8 and 10. Let's talk about the love of money. All right, verse 8. So if we have enough food and clothing, let us be content. But people who long to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many foolish and harmful desires that plunge them into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. This is a very misunderstood verse, and you might be thinking, that's not what the verse is. Maybe because you've heard it misquoted. People think that the phrase is, money is the root of all evil. That is not what we just read. What does it say? It says the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. What it means is money is not evil or wicked. It is how do you perceive it, how do you pursue it, and what are your motivations around it? Let me explain. If I were to take out a $100 bill, say, is this evil? No, it's just paper. It is not evil inherently. It's just paper and ink that we ascribe value to. However, what someone might do to get it could be evil. What someone might do in cheating or stealing or being cruel or lying to get that money or having greed in their heart in the pursuit of that money, that can be evil. But what if somebody wants that money so that they can feed their family? Is that evil? No. What if somebody's like, oh man, I could have that money, I could just bless somebody with that. Is that evil? Of course not. It is, why do you desire money? You ever pause long enough to ask yourself the question why you do the things you do? You sign up for a baseball team and you're all excited to play. You ever just pause for a moment and be like, why do I want to play baseball? Well, I like the guys on my team, or I like the girls on my team. They're fun. It's good friendship. I really enjoy this coach. They make me feel better. I like being outside and running around. Is it, I feel like I just look cool in that jersey and I just kind of want to say that I'm on a team. Well, if I don't play something, then people will make fun of me. Like, what is the underlying motivation for you wanting to do the thing that you're doing? You ever pause long enough before you turn on your video game or before you open up your phone and go on TikTok and ask, like, why am I doing this right now? Am I bored? Am I looking for something? Am I discontent with the way my life is now? Am I just looking to relax and maybe zone out for a minute? Why am I looking to zone out? You ever just paused and actually sat there and say, why am I pursuing the thing I'm pursuing? I'm not saying that those things are wrong. I'm just asking, have you ever assessed your heart? You ever asked the Lord, God, why am I interested in this kind of book series? What's going on here? What's the motivation of my heart? Where is this coming from? Am I ashamed in my heart when I think about the fact that I'm pursuing this? Have you ever paused? Because so many people reach the end of their lives or the middle of their lives, and they're like, I have just traded 20 or 30 years of my life for a career to pursue money. I've lost friendships. I've lost relationships. I've ended relationships. I've prioritized this pursuit of money. Why? And they don't ask that question until they're so far into investing into seeking money. People will move. They will lie, they will cheat, they will steal in the pursuit of this. So Paul is not saying that rich people are evil. Paul is not saying that money is evil. He is saying, though, that you pursuing it can lead you to evil, or how you use it can be evil. And we must understand this distinction. I think sometimes people pursue money because they think it'll make them safe. Well, if I got a lot of money, then it doesn't matter if the world falls apart. There's this scene in the movie Titanic where there are lifeboats that are falling down and they're putting them into the water and the boat is sinking. And the Titanic was one of the richest vessels in the world. The people that were riding on it were multi-millionaires, many of them. It was very expensive to go on the Titanic. And as it is sinking to the ground, or at least under the ocean, as it is sinking, there's a man who pulls out wads of cash. And he says, I will buy a seat on this boat with all this money, and I'll give you more when we get to land. The captain looks at him kind of smirking and goes, your money means nothing right now. Do you realize that no one would trade a seat on their boat for your money? Do you realize that you're trying to purchase right now something that has no value? It is your life. Your money is worthless. All of you have something. I saw another way of wording this same thing. I think someone probably saw the movie Titanic and copied it on YouTube. I feel like YouTubers just rip off a lot of things often. This YouTuber walked up to someone and was like, hey, would you take $1 million if I gave it to you? And they're like, yes. And they got really excited, like maybe this YouTuber's loaded and is about to give me $1 million. And they go, okay, but the only catch is tomorrow you don't get to wake up. So you get $1 million, you can spend it for a day, but then tomorrow you don't get to wake up. You die, your life's over. And then they're like, well, in that case, no, are you threatening me? And they're like, no, we're not threatening you, right? But I want you to realize something. Your life is more valuable than $1 million. If you wake up tomorrow, can you find joy in that as if I had given you $1 million? You see that? What if I could find contentment and joy in my life apart from that money? What if you found enjoyment not just in making it and spending it, but even just living your life, enjoying the things around you? Also, some people pursue money, and they love money because they think it makes people respect them. They think it makes them feel powerful, important, valuable. And that is not how God views you. God is the one who determines value and worth, not a net worth or not some bank number on a screen in a computer. All of these things, loving money, can lead to idolatry, greed, selfishness, and lying. We need to be careful about, if we do not have our heart in the right place, pursuing money, what it does to us. And then finally, we need to invest in the right thing. Let's read verse 17 through 19. Teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud and not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all that we need for our enjoyment. Here he is saying, look, you can enjoy life even if you don't have a lot of money. He says here, look, hey, listen, the rich people that are so proud of their money, that trust in their money, it can go away. They could lose it all. And he says, tell them to use their money to do good. They should be rich in good works and generous to those in need, always ready to share with others. By doing this, they will store up a treasure as a good foundation for the future. Listen, so many people forget where their money comes from, and they greedily hold on to it, unwilling to release it. I'm totally going to put my son on blast, but he's 5 and he won't listen to the sermon, so that's okay. My son Judah and I were in the movie theaters, and I bought a large popcorn, and it's me, my wife, and then my 3 kids, and 2 daughters, and then my son. So I hand this huge bucket of popcorn. Literally, Judah could have drowned in this bucket of popcorn, okay? This is a massive thing. He could not have eaten all of that because the popcorn probably weighed as much as him, okay? There's no way he could eat all this thing. I hand him this massive bucket, larger than his torso, and I'm like, here you go, Judah. Here, enjoy some popcorn. He goes, thanks, Dad. And so I bought it. It's my popcorn. I gave it to him. He's sitting there eating the popcorn, and then Talia's like, psst, psst, Judah, pass the popcorn. And Judah goes, no. And I look at Judah and I go, excuse me? Like, literally, you couldn't sit there and eat all that popcorn if you tried. He goes, yeah, I could. I'm like, no, you could not. And it's not your popcorn. I gave the bucket to you. Let your sister have a handful or two. He goes, nuh-uh. Oh, you better believe I grabbed that entire bucket, all right? I handed it to Talia, and I go crazy. Judah doesn't get any more. And Judah's over there pouting and whining. I didn't get any popcorn. I'm like, dude, you literally were eating so much. You barely could eat any more. And the thing that I gave you, when I asked, can your sister just reach your hand in and have a handful of popcorn, you weren't willing to share it. It wasn't yours to begin with. Then I'm getting ready for the sermon, and I couldn't get that thought out of my head. God has given me so much, and I'm sitting here, if you will, with a bucket full of money in my life. Not exuberantly rich, but I have money. I'm blessed. So I'm sitting here with this bucket when God says, hey, why don't you share that money with so-and-so? What's going on in my heart? What's going on in my heart? No, this is mine. I earned this. I worked for this. I saved for this. Yeah, but God's over here looking at me like, but Barrett, I gave you life. I gave you any talent that you have that earned money. But I worked hard. I studied. Yeah, but like, who gave you that drive? Who gave you the ability to live in the country that you do, to make the money that you do? Who gave you all these? Everything that you have, Barrett, is from me. So when I ask you to give a handful to someone else in need, why are you holding on to that? Can you look at your life the same way? To say, hey, what I have is given to me all by God. It's his. And so if he asks for it back or to bless someone else, can you be generous? Because here's what I mean by invest in the right place. What I mean by that is invest in things that will last forever. The Bible says that you cannot take your money with you when you die. No one. Pharaohs tried to do this. They literally buried themselves with gold or riches. They literally even buried themselves with alive servants, which is weird. All right, they buried themselves with literally boats. And it's like, what are you going to be like? It's like burying yourself with a Lamborghini when you're a rich person. All right, you die, you're like, bury my Lambo with me. And if they're like lowering it into the grave, like that's weird. You can't take it with you. All right, and so what does this mean? It means, what if you invest in something that outlives you? Other people. Not even just other people, investing in the things of God. Let me give you an example. I said this 2 weeks ago. I alluded to it. All of you right now are blessed in this church by the generosity of someone else. Firstly, God. But secondly, people, Christians, who donated money to build this building, to buy the chairs that you're sitting in. The clean water that we have is helped maintained by our facilities team that work hard on it. All that we have at this church has been donated. I don't usually stand up here and ask people for money. In fact, if you've been in this youth group, you've probably never heard me do that. You might be like, well, hold on, you have events and you ask us for money for that. All of our events, we lose money on. We don't make money on winter camp or summer camp. The cost of going to camp is more expensive than we charge you. We lose money. The only reason we're able to do those camps and do the things that we do is because of the generosity of others who have given to this church. And so people have given so that you might be blessed by the microphone or the projectors or all the things that we possess. It's from the generosity of others. They gave and they are investing in you. You have been invested in. One day, when you grow up and you begin to make some money, are you going to be generous with what you've been given? Are you going to seek to invest in your local church? I don't care if that's here or somewhere else. It doesn't matter which church, but a church. Think about this. Think about our outreach projects all over the world. Our church doesn't even take all the money that we have. We spend a large portion of our budget on building a school in Uganda for girls that go to school. And the girls that are going to that school don't want to walk there each and every day because they're afraid of being kidnapped or attacked. And so we built dormitories for these girls so that they could stay there at the school, go to school, and then they could go home together on the weekends in groups together to stay safe. We've done things like buy bean bags for a youth group in Hungary, or buy iPads for a missionary in a South Asian country that I can't mention because of privacy needs, or more importantly, for their own safety. We've donated to all of these missionaries all over the world because we are seeking to invest in the kingdom of God, which lasts forever. And we do this by blessing children of God. What if you started investing your money into helping the people around you, into doing the work of God? This is why rich people should not be vilified as evil, because they can use their wealth for good. All right, so now what many of you are looking for. Barrett, how do I get wealthy? All right, I can use money for God's glory. How do I do this? All right, the first one you're not going to like, and I don't care. First one is you got to actually work hard if you actually want to make. You're like, oh, like that work thing that people do, right? Listen, I will say this. People hate on adulting. Oh, adulting's the worst. Adulting's horrible. I hate adulting. Adulting's awesome, okay? Losers say that, okay? Let me explain. You guys have to go to school. You work for 8 hours a day on subjects you don't want to work on and you didn't usually get to choose. Then, sometimes you have to pay to do that. Then you might go to a college if you're lucky, and you got to pay to take classes. It's a lot more fun to get paid for the work that you do. Money that you can go spend on whatever you desire to do that. That's nice. So listen, don't listen to these losers that are hating on that. But also, you need to work hard. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 4 says, lazy people are soon poor, but the hard workers get rich. You need to go out and you need to work hard and you need to add value. And let me explain what this looks like. The reason that you get paid for doing a job in the capitalistic society should hopefully be this. You are blessing someone else. For example, if you work at Chick-fil-A, they make about, it's like 12 to 15 an hour. It changes depending on what position you have there. So let's say $15 for a round number. If you are adding value in providing food for other people, you're helping that owner run the restaurant, then you are going to make money. Why? Because you are blessing other people, and so then you get money to then go spend it on what you desire. Let's say that you're the owner of the Chick-fil-A. You make more money. Why? Because you are blessing several people. You are blessing all of the workers at that Chick-fil-A, and then you're blessing everyone that goes through the drive-thru. You also have put more of an investment of your money and time into that business, probably, and so your risk is greater and you add greater value. People like to hate on, and I'm not like over here like defending every billionaire in the world, but let's at least look at it this way. Jeff Bezos is a pretty rich dude. Why? He created Amazon. Raise your hand if you've ever got a package from Amazon or your parents have. Ever watched Amazon Prime, anything like that? Yeah, okay. So Jeff Bezos is in some way has added value to all of your lives, including all these people. He's a pretty rich person. Why? Because he's added value. Now again, the way you spend your money, the heart behind it, I'm not justifying all those things. I'm simply saying if you wish to make money, you need to work hard. But you also need to ask, how can I add value to a company? How can I start a company that adds value? And then I'll make more money. Let's just use a restaurant. Let's say you're like, oh, I want to open a restaurant. Okay, great. If you serve horrible food, it's too expensive, and you're rude to people, you're not going to add value. People will not be blessed by your restaurant. So your restaurant might go out of business. But if the food's cheap or well-priced, and they have a good experience and it tastes good, then people might be blessed by that restaurant, so maybe it prospers and you bless other people and then you make money. But working hard has to be a part of this principle. The Bible says it is important for us to work to provide. Another principle here is you need to avoid debt. Now I say no debt, but maybe I should have been a little bit more less Dave Ramsey on this. But the idea is this. You need, if you want to actually build wealth, you need to make more money than you spend. If you make $100,000 and then you spend $100,000, you will never actually build wealth. Why? Because every year you will have no money to show for the entire year. You took all of your money and just spent it on things, and now you have nothing to show for it. But let's say you only make $50,000 a year, but then you only spend $40,000. You cut back on certain things. You take sacrifices. That $10,000 that you have, what you do with that $10,000 can help build wealth. If you buy stock in a company, or you invest that money, or you put it in a high-yield savings account, wherever you put that money, it can start to build and grow. Then the next year, maybe, you grow how much you make. Maybe the next year you make $60,000 and you still only spend $40,000. Now you have $20,000 to invest, plus the 10 in interest that you had before. It starts to grow. But if you keep spending how much you have, you won't grow wealth. Also, you definitely won't grow wealth if you make $100,000 a year and you spend $150,000 a year, you ain't gonna grow. Why? Because now you are in debt, and literally there's a Bible verse about debt where it actually says, just as the rich rule the poor, so the borrower is a servant to the lender. You become a slave to debt. If you're like, oh, I just really want this huge big screen TV or this big car that I really love, and I don't have the money for it yet, why not just work and wait and save for it? No, you want it today. So what do? You get a loan, and you spend money before you even have it, and now you have this big debt hanging over you like an anvil. If you can just wait and grow wealth, maybe you'll be able to buy that on your own. All right, and obviously, I won't get into it today. If you want to learn on your own, you can. But debt can be a tool to grow wealth. Well, that's a different story. Not a principle we need today. Let's talk about compound interest. I love this. Christians back there are like giddy with excitement. Let's talk about this. Proverbs 13:11. Wealth from get-rich-quick schemes quickly disappears. Wealth from hard work grows over time. You could, if you wanted, go and say, you know what, I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket. I'm going to buy a $50 lottery ticket every month, or $50 worth of lottery tickets every month. And you can just hope to be a millionaire. You could do that. You probably won't. The statistics are very, very, very slim. You are more likely, actually, to die on the drive to the gas station to buy a lottery ticket than you are to win money from the lottery ticket. I want you to say that again. You are more likely, with the Mega Millions jackpot, to die driving to the gas station in a car wreck than you are of getting there, getting a lottery ticket, scratching it off, and becoming a millionaire. That's crazy. But people are like, well, maybe it'll be me. Maybe it'll be you that gets hit by the car, okay? Stay home, all right? Eat a Funyun or something. Anyway, but listen, let's track with this. If you took $50 a week, starting at 11 years old, and you put it under your mattress, all right, until you were the age at which you could retire, you would have $32,450. So if you don't invest in the lottery and you just put that money under your mattress every month, by the way, I don't think you can legally buy a lottery ticket, but I'm just saying, if every month you saved $50, just $50, I'd say it's a lot of money to me, but let's just track your whole life, you would have $32,450. It's pretty nice. It's pretty good, right? But check this out. If you knew where to invest that money, and you took that and you put it starting at the age of 18. So you're 18 years old. No, I'm sorry, 21 is what I actually wrote down. 21 years old, you invest this into a Roth IRA. It will grow tax-free $50 a month. Rather than putting it under your mattress, you put it into a savings account that will grow in retirement. You will have $477,000 when you retire. At 21 years old, if you started doing this. So every year, every month, you save $50 rather than going and buying your lottery ticket that you'll probably die on the way there to get. No, I'm kidding. You invest it in a retirement account, you will have $477,000. Now, track with me here. Ready? What if you didn't wait till you were 21? What if going back here, right now, at 11 years old? Some of you are like, well, I'm 14. Tough. The math doesn't add up for you. But if you're 11 and you started right now, you said to your parents, hey, I want to open a Roth IRA. I want to put $50 in it a month. You figure out how to make $50. Barrett, I don't know how I'll make 50. Figure it out. Here's what would happen. If you put this into a retirement account starting at 11, $50 a month, and you didn't wait till you were 21, you would have $1.3 million in that retirement account. Now, that's only if you did 50 a week. What if you get older? You're like, a month. What if you get older? And you're like, well, I'm gonna put hundreds in there, thousands in there. The earlier you start, the better chance you have of building wealth. Now you're like, Barrett, I've never heard of a Roth IRA. I don't know what retirement is. I don't fully understand compound interest. That's my last point. If you want to build wealth, you need to learn about these things. Be interested. Be invested in this. I remember I had a friend in high school who we all made fun of him because he's like studying the stock markets in high school, or he's interested in like making money or like reading financial investment books or real estate. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you, nerd? Now I'm like, can you teach me your ways? Like, I want to learn from you, right? And so if you can get interested in these things and learn, and you can steward your money well, and you can work hard, and you don't get into meaningless debt, and you start early, you can grow that wealth. Now, you might have seen this number here, and you start seeing fast cars, boats, private jets, whatever. But what if your heart was also in the right place? Let's remember where we started. What if your heart was in the right place? What if you looked at that and you saw clean drinking water for people that didn't have any? What if you looked at that and you saw the 70% or 80% on the globe that don't have their own bed to sleep in or air conditioning or heat, and you're like, I can make a difference? What if you looked at that money and saw that I can support missionaries who will help people get saved and they'll live in heaven forever? What if you saw the potential to change this world for the better? What if? And what if by you working hard, you learning, you avoiding meaningless debt, you were able to make a difference for the kingdom of God? That is how we can look at wealth. And God can use people that are ambitious, that do desire to do this, to bless their own families, to bless others, to build churches, and to make a difference. So, I hope that maybe this is at least giving you some curiosity, some things to think about when making money. My son, literally yesterday, I was like giving him the rundown on this. And literally we went to a yard sale and he asked to sell his own things at a yard sale. He went into his playroom, gathered a trash bag, and made $7 at a yard sale. I'm not joking, Christian, yesterday. And he wanted it all in quarters because it looked like more money to him. He was wrong, but I mean, it looked like more money to him. And so he's saving up money. And we literally sat there, and he's 5 years old, and we were talking about investing in stocks. I'm like, what companies do you like? And he's like, are Legos a company? And I'm like, yes, they are publicly traded. So we're literally gonna buy him some stock in Legos. He likes his Nike shoes. We're gonna buy some Nike stock. We're gonna invest in the things he likes, and Christian loves it. But it's cool because learning these things at a young age is fun, and Tally's over there like, I just wanna buy chocolate. And I'm like, go for it, girl. Enjoy the chocolate, that's not wrong either, all right? All right, service is done. You guys are free to go. Have a great day.